Hey, welcome to Taylor's Trick Ticket. Rookie! I'm Taylor. And today we're... Sorry about that. Today we're going to be covering Sticht, oder Nicht by Thomas Nezold. And this is wonderful. It continues the trend of having sharp things because I believe Sticht is the term for trick in Germany, and Sticht also means sting. So as you can see here on the cover, you got a bee, a swordfish, and the other suits in the deck are a scorpion and a porcupine. And I love this wordplay. As you can see this in Sticht Elm, which has one of my favorite covers where you can poke in the boot. And then also Was Sticht with the little mosquito. It's wonderful wordplay. We love wordplay here on the channel. I believe that because this is No Voices, the month where we're covering games where you pick what type of game before you play the game. This one does a wonderful job of also showing an interesting way to determine what type of game you're playing before you play the game. So the hook to Sticht, oder Nicht is players will, I guess two of the players at the table, are going to pick different conditions, whether a certain suit is trump, or whether you want the most or the fewest tricks, or if certain cards are worth points, or actually worth minus points, before you play, and then you're going to play a round. And then those people who picked, it's going to shift, and there's going to be two different people who picked. So it's going to be kind of like moving around the table as you play. Players are slowly going to have a say in the hands as you play the multiple hands in the game. We're going to go to the table. I'm going to teach you how to play. But first, I want to say again, thank you so much to Ben from Travel UK Games, who helped give away a copy of Band of Tricks. And it was about your favorite Halloween costume. And the winner is, drumroll, Yota, who had a wonderful story about having a deck of cards on their costume and then bending one of the cards and then still playing with that deck. So that's commitment. That's wonderful. So yeah, Yota, reach out. Congrats. Woo! Thanks everyone. It's kind of insane to celebrate that many subscribers. 2355. Absolutely insane. And we have hit 2455 and 2555. So definitely more giveaways to come. And thank you again, Ben, Travel Games UK. Check them out, especially if you are in the United Kingdom. Oh my gosh, I forgot. I didn't forget what UK stood for. I knew it. Yeah, we can just go to the table, right? Yeah, we're just gonna go to the table and teach you how to play Sticht, oder Nicht. All right, actually cut everything. Okay, bye. The deck in Sticht, oder Nicht is 4 suits numbered 1 through 12. The 11 and the 12 were only used at 5 and 6 players. Here we have the game set up for 4 players. So at 4, you deal all the cards out, so 10 cards each. Then you're going to give a random player the dealer card, which is important in the game. And then also each player is going to get this, which lets them either -2 or +2 to the value of the card that is played. They get to use that once per game. If they don't use it, it just goes away. They get a new one at the start of every hand. And then also you're going to have 4 different piles of categories of things that players are going to choose. So starting to the left of the dealer, they're going to pick one of these 4. So you're going to shuffle this, you're going to reveal one of each of the piles. And so I'm sorry it's in German, but I can totally translate. So this one here is just going to dictate what trump would be. So B suit in this case. This is fewest tricks gets 5 bonus points. And then over here, it would be if you got the fewest B cards, you would lose 3 points. And then over here, it's -1 point per blue swordfish card in your trick pile. Other than that, it's actually just a point per trick. So looking at the circle pin over here, they're noticing they have a couple of strong B cards, or I guess a couple cards of the strongest B card. So they could pick that as trump. And then also they have not the best hand and they could sluff. So maybe they think winning the fewest is best. They're going to do that. They're going to pick this one. So that is one of the 2 things. And then coming up here, so clockwise, the next player is going to pick another one of these. So the knife player is looking at their hand and they are thinking, getting fewest would be good, but I have kind of a strong hand, especially if I make B trump. And every trick is worth a point. So maybe I can make it up by choosing this and then making enough tricks to make that worth it. But maybe I'm just going to choose this because I'm going to be able to get some B cards, I think. I'm going to choose this. So they decide to not pick these ones. So then these are the 2 things that are in the trick. So it's going to be a point per trick. Also, if you get fewest, it is +5. And then if you get the fewest Bs, it's actually -3. So in this weird example, you want B cards, but you don't want tricks. So players are going to kind of try to balance that. So then after that's picked, you can, clear off this, which I'll do in a little bit. And then the next player is going to lead to the first trick. So it's going to be this kind of box pin player. So the box pin player led to the first trick in the game is must follow. So coming down to the white pin here, they do have to play this scorpion because that's the only red in their hand. Coming to the other pin, they have to play scorpion 2. And so maybe since they don't want to win tricks, they're going to play that 8. And then up here to the knife, they're looking at their hand, they have the 10, and they notice, hey, if I don't want to take tricks, they could play the 10, take this, flip it, and do -2. So now that's actually an 8. So this 9 player would still win the trick, and they got rid of a tall card. So the winner of the trick is just going to take the trick, lead to the next trick, and that's just going to keep happening. If there's ever a tie, like let's say this is what it looked like, and the 10 -2 is an 8, and there's a tie in rank, the person who played the card would win the tie. So whether you go up or down, it's just whoever played that wins the tie. So then the knife player would win the trick in that situation. Here at the end of the round, and players are going to count up their points. So you get a point per trick. So this knife player up here would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down here 3, and this one 2. Then you would check any scoring conditions. So this said, fewest tricks gets 5. So that would be this player. This player would get 5 points. And then over here it says the fewest Bs gets -3. So players would look through their piles, and they wanted Bs in this case. So this player got some Bs, so they're good. That player looks like they got some Bs, which is good. So then this player would lose 3, unless actually this player, yeah, so if this player didn't have any Bs, which they didn't, they also would lose 3 because any ties are shared. So this player over here, actually, they got 2, -3, so they actually got -1 point, this player over here. Whereas this player over here got 2, up there got 5, down here got 3. So then you would shuffle the cards, redeal. This would move, which is important for the game, because now instead of this player and this player picking what they're doing, it's actually going to be the knife player and this player. And then down here, the white pin will lead to the first trick in the second round. You're going to take these, shuffle them back into their decks. You're going to, flip a new one. And all these are different variations of them. So this is like most tricks -5. This is least tricks -5. This is what trump is, so just the 4 trump suits. This over here is similar to this, where it's -3 for fewest. There's also +3 for fewest. Then there's also -3 and +3 for most Bs. And so that just goes through all of them. And then over here is what you would expect as well. This is either +1 point for every B card or -1 point for every B card, and that's all the different suits. So all the categories are balanced in what you would expect. Then you're just going to keep playing a certain number of rounds. It says usually 2 times the number of players in the rulebook, so at 4 it would be 8, but they also say you can go more or less depending on what you want, and then whoever has the most points at the end wins. And that's how to play Sticht oder Nicht. So that is Sticht or Nicht. Oh, sorry about that. It's kind of frightening. Didn't mean to do that. Sticht or Nicht. And this is actually going to be a standing review. Look at me go. Woo! So the game itself, it is a good, balanced, interesting time. I know I say the word interesting a lot, but I do find like the overall composition of the game very interesting. It's very balanced for the most part. And the things I really dig about it are, first off, the cards. I love when there's like a humor in card art, and the fact that the cards, as they get stronger, get, I mean, like this penguin's a goofball, but get kind of absolutely terrifying and strong, whereas like when they're really small, like this little tiny baby scorpion, it's a little weak, a little weird, kind of Pokemon-ish. They evolve into terrifying beasts of ungodly terror. Terrifying beasts of terror. But so, I like that the deck makeup is simple. The 1 point per trick, super clean. Also, the cards that you pick from are super balanced. So 1 is just pick trump, right? Which in and of itself is very balanced. There's 4 of those cards, and there's 4 cards to pick trump on. So nothing too crazy for that. And then the other one is, it's every combination of you want cards and you don't want cards. So for example, it's getting the most is either good or bad, or getting the fewest is either good or bad. And this is all in the same suit. And then there's all the suits represented. So it's really nice how literally like every possible combination can happen. It's almost like a combinatorial game in a weird way. And then also plus or minus a point for every card in your suit, which is great. And then what's a nice touch is the last thing is either going to be you want the fewest for +5, or you don't want the fewest and you don't want the most. But there's no you want the most, which I think is smart on their part because they know it's already a point per trick. So they don't want to be like a point per trick and most tricks is 5 more points. So there's not kind of too much of a landslidey thing. And the game is very balanced. Like the scores are pretty close unless you kind of oof it. And there's times where, yeah, if you win a lot of, if someone picks like every blue card or every whatever card is minus a point and you win a lot of those, that's kind of the only times the game can kind of landslide away from you. But again, every trick is worth a point. So there's just, the game's very balanced. I think it's very interesting balance, especially the fact that every player has these +or-2 cards, which I love, more agency, and it's super clean if there's ties. Like this game is smooth, and it is like a very good implementation of you want a diverse, unique trick taker hand to hand that, you know, yeah, the hands feel different and everything feels balanced. This is the one I would show people in a cool way. The only cons I have with the game is, even though it is varied, sometimes when you're playing, especially if you play 8 hands, it can get, it's not samey, but like the same logic's there. It's a point per trick, so it's like, let's just get a trick, usually. Sometimes you can change that up. But often, like, even when the ones are like, oh, the most tricks is +5. Since there's 10 tricks, oftentimes that's not like the best strategy. We were playing once where everyone was like, oh, I think I can do no tricks and I'm going to get the +5. And so one person just took all the tricks and they got way more than +5. So I think there's a slight leaning in the game toward taking tricks is good, which is tough when you get dealt a hand and you might just have a bad hand. Especially is tough is if you have a bad hand and you're not one of the people to pick and have influence over what you're doing, then the people who have a good hand can just pick, this is a good hand and you want tricks and all of a certain color are positive points. So I think the only con I really have of the game is the fact that not everybody gets a say per hand. The pro of that is it's super quick, lightning quick. Since only 2 people pick and they only have 4 choices, they're like, okay, 1 of 4, and then the next person's like, okay, 1 of 3, and it's done, and you're playing trick taking. So out of all the games that we're probably going to cover, this is the quickest, because in Noises, we're doing preparation phase that determines what hand you're playing, like what hand you're playing. This is an incredibly quick, what are we going to play, that leads to the trick taking faster. Like Niet has a balance of like, what are we going to play? It takes about as long as the trick play. Whereas this one is like, what we're going to play is 2 choices and then we're going. So I love that it's fast, but I think what holds this back from being one of my favorites or like an all-timer for me is the fact that, yeah, you just don't, everyone doesn't have a say, and that feels bad sometimes when you're the 3rd or 4th player and you want to have a say and you just can't. It feels like, oh man. So overall, really cool game, really quick, really fluid. Ironically, even though it's about points, very smooth. Like it's a smooth experience. Like there's no rough edges really. And so I like Sticht or Nicht. I think it feels different than Niet, which is fun. And I think this would be a fun one to pull out to show people kind of the range of what a trick taking could be. Like an avoidance one, sometimes avoidance one, a full take one, some no trump, some trump. It's kind of like there's a lot going on here. Yeah, it's a good one. Just a little bit shy of the mark for me personally. Thanks so much for watching. That was Sticht or Nicht, and I will catch y'all later. What's German for goodbye? Dusseldorf.